like to say that our Engage series, our guests are as interesting as our speakers, and so that makes for just, we think, really special series. Our speakers today, our topic is real time in the slow tech movement, and our speakers are Alex Pang and Rich Green. And Dr. Alex Pang is a futurist and a thought leader in the field of contemplative computing. And I confess that I had never heard of that descriptor before Rich introduced me to you and to that phrase. And as you know by my probably annoying back and forth emailing, I have fallen in love with this topic for many, many reasons. He is a senior consultant at Strategic Business Insights, a visiting scholar at Stanford and Oxford, is it Said?
Said Business School.
Business School. He has fellowships at Williams College, Berkeley, and Microsoft Research Cambridge. He's got a new book about contemplative computing called The Distraction Addiction, coming out in August. And Rich and I can confess a secret, that we have had a preview of the galleys, and
that book rocks.
Yes, Mr. Green, I think, was late to a particular meeting or something. It was embarrassing because he was going to put the book down. Which brings us to Mr. Green. Rich Green is a custom audiovisual system design consultant, instructor, and public speaker. Based right here in Palo Alto, he has served ambitious clients such as some folks you may have heard of, like Steve Jobs, Larry Ellison, Jim Clark, Gordon Getty, Michael Tilson Thomas, Luciano Pavarotti, Accel Partners, and HP Labs. He is the founder and chair of the Technology Council for CEDIA, the Custom Electronics Design and Installation Association. He is also a CEDIA Fellow. Rich travels the world as a leader in the fields of future technologies and design, and is an instructor in the emerging innovations in technology at Moraine Park
Technical College.
He received his BS from Northwestern University in physical anthropology. Aisha?
Yes, we've met.
And historical geology. So with that, we're just going to have some fun. And I'm going to leave this up to Alex and to Rich to do their thing at some point. I mean, during this entire presentation, these gentlemen will interact with the audience. I remind you that we are being videotaped and want to have a nice product to be able to share with other folks. Our YouTube channel, by the way, is Hayden Group. So if you go to YouTube, go to Hayden Group. You'll be able to find our last two events with Richard.
All right. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you for inviting us here. It's great to be here again, and thank you all for coming. So I'm the Rich Green guy. He's the Alex Pang guy. And I'm going to kind of romp a little bit about a topic that's become very near and dear to me over the past few years. Very quickly, I'm not a Palo Alto native. I grew up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, did a lot of work in the Chicago area in this field of audio-video system design and installation. And that's where I got to meet Luciano Pavarotti and Schulte and all these really amazing people. What I would do is install stereos for people. That was my job. You know, I was a young anthropologist. What could be more fun? Driving a truck and delivering stereos for, you know, Walter Payton, Gene Siskel, Roger Ebert. I taught Siskel and Ebert how to watch movies in their homes. I delivered their first VCRs, and so on. Rush Limbaugh, you know, it just goes on and on and on. I moved here in 1991. I was recruited by some friends over here at the Audible Difference on El Camino by Robert Crone Shoes. And then I bought that company in 1995 and ran it through the rock and roll years, you know, where Porsches were crashing into Ferraris in our front parking lot. It was ridiculous. But did a lot of phenomenal work. I remember when Steve Jobs came into my store on rollerblades and did a couple laps around the store and then grabbed me by the collar and said, "Come here, Green, we've got to talk," you know, and then we talked about real high-end esoteric audio stuff. And that turned out to be a very interesting longer-term relationship that I'll just tell you that Steve was one of the most respectful and honorable and delightful people I've ever encountered in this field. And you won't, you know, I hate to put it even in the same paragraph, but so was Rush Limbaugh. What a gentleman. Oh man, he pulled me aside and he goes, "You know, people take me so seriously. I'm just an entertainer, you know." I don't approve of anything he says. Skip ahead. I've been doing super high-end audio-video design, installation, control systems, communications, network security, all the electronics that you would put into the home of an ambitious homeowner. And some of those homes were ghastly in their scope, you know, 15, 20, 30,000 square feet, 14, 15, 18 TVs, big racks of fire-breathing equipment, and I started to feel bad about that. I didn't like what I was doing, frankly. It was a good intellectual challenge, but it wasn't in my heart. And I thought, well, you know, there's not a lot of pride in selling expensive things to wealthy people and putting 15 TVs in a house, especially when it goes against the grain of my nature. I'm generally a very shy person, and I try to keep quiet. And that's because I was overloaded by communications. When I was running the Audible Difference and then my own company, Rich Green Inc., we had a lot of trucks on the road. I was running 85 concurrent installations in this area with the kinds of people you can imagine, and it was hard. I wanted to shut down every time I went home. When I moved here in 1991, I did not move my TV set. I haven't had a TV in my life since 1991, and before that I almost never watched it. So that started me off on an experiment. I'm a living experiment. Jeff, you know about some of this. My experiment is to live a quiet life and get out of the pace that propels so many people into a sense of technology delirium. So you really can't find me. I'm pretty much under the radar. There's no TV in my house. I don't Facebook. I don't Twitter. I don't LinkedIn. I don't have a web page. If you Google me, you'll find some articles that I write, and you'll hear about some speeches that I give. I do fly around a lot and give inspirational talks and keynotes and things like that. So I've become some kind of a public speaker. But privately, I'm trying to be quiet. A few years ago, I went to a technology retreat, and with some very interesting people. Evan Williams was there, the guy behind Twitter, and some other interesting folks, and they started asking me, "So you install big TVs for people in big homes. Well, what are you doing for the world?" And I just felt horrible. It's like, well, I guess I'm not doing enough for the world. So I really took that to heart, and I turned my mission around from home entertainment into, which is, you know, more about electronic lifestyles, into something that's more about what I call sustainable lifestyles. And that's about the time when I came and did the talk for you here, and that was about using retrofit technologies to get into existing homes to reduce the energy footprint using smart dimmers and switches and things like that. Well, now I've since evolved into the slow movement from sustainable lifestyles into slow values. And I first heard about this slow concept in the context of slow branding. What's a slow brand? Coca-Cola, Mercedes-Benz, Leica, Hasselblad. I'm a photographer, so I talk about cameras. A slow brand. And then I started to pay attention to the word slow. And like slow is all over the place. It's a buzzword in Silicon Valley. Slow, slow, slow. Slow technology. It started with slow food, right? You know what I'm talking about with slow food. I think that came from Italy. And you're with your best friends on a Saturday, you got bags of groceries, you're chopping vegetables, you're drinking wine, you're telling stories. And slow food is about slow conversations. That's really what it's about. So I got a lot of show and tell here. The first show and tell is this little piece of fuzz. Okay, this is slow technology. What is this? It's an acoustical panel. Put your ear up against it and it sounds dead. When people would ask me to put big speakers into their dining rooms and keypads and play music and stuff in their dining rooms, I just said, well, wait a minute. What's the purpose of a dining room? The purpose of a dining room is to have great conversations. It's not about eating food. And if you want music in there, you're gonna make it more difficult to have a great conversation. And if your dining room is built like an echo chamber, and I'm sorry, yours is kind of like an echo chamber, it always gets loud in there before these sessions, then it becomes very difficult to hear the subtlety and the nuance in a conversation. So I say, don't put the money in speakers, put the money in an acoustical treatment, like we would treat a home theater or a recording studio, so that you can just kind of relax and hear the person who's next to you and not have to scream and yell. You know how irritating it is to go into a restaurant and have to scream into somebody's ear to have a conversation. That is not the point of going to a restaurant. It's to have a great conversation. So slow technology number one, it's acoustical fuzz. I really believe in this stuff. Where else can we go with the concept of slow? Slow cities. Entire cities are becoming slow. That's called cheetah slow. And I gave a talk in Melbourne, Australia, and the host of the event came up to me very humbly afterward and said, I just published this book, The Slow Guide to Melbourne, Live More, Fret Less. It's like, dude, why did you let me go up there and make a fool of myself on the stage? You could have just talked about your book. But he's nailed it, and this is, I'll pass it around, but it's a wonderful book about how to take your time and really engage with your family and your friends and get around the city and see the little alleyways and really discover and slow down. Don't run, slow down, walk. So beautiful book. Maybe, no, should I pass it around?
Yeah.
Okay. Cheetah slow. Slow branding, slow food, slow coffee. We got Phil's Coffee. Okay, Phil's Coffee is slow coffee, right? They take their time to make, to craft this gorgeous cup of coffee. But you know what? I don't know who Phil is or if Phil is here. But Phil, you're blowing it. Because you make slow coffee and it's good coffee, but it's not a slow restaurant. It is a hostile, nasty, violent place. You go in there and people are sitting on, it's a hard floor, hard ceiling, acoustic echo chamber, and people are sitting at their tables with their laptops open and their headphones on and they're not engaging in any way whatsoever. That is not what slow means. Step in the right direction with slow coffee, step back in terms of slow conversations. I'm highly attuned to these kinds of things now. I watch for them. I'm a living experiment, like I said. I'm under the radar. It feels weird to get in a conversation with people who are making jokes about TV shows and I have no idea what they're talking about. I did watch part of the Super Bowl on my laptop. A home theater for me is a Mac laptop with a pair of headphones. And here I am, one of the more noted home theater designers in the world. I know how to design home theaters, I just don't think I need that in my home. I've got some things here. My mom is an antique collector. I grew up in the home of an antique collector, an obsessive compulsive antique collector. And she still lives in the same house that we grew up in. I was just there last week to help her with the snow and the blizzard and everything. And some of the things that I brought with me, she sent this to me once. This is one of the first examples of slow technology. This came from the British Museum. This is the Rosetta Stone. Not the Rosetta Stone, but it's a very, very good replica of the Rosetta Stone. If you look at it with a magnifying glass, you can see the Coptic print in there. And just think about the time and the dedication it took to create the original Rosetta Stone, which I saw this summer in the British Museum. Just, kind of pause and think about that.
Here's a detail.
Awesome!
Or you can come to my house and see a full-size reproduction of my mother.
That's real obsessive compulsive. This was a gift, my Christmas present from my mom this year. This is Art Nouveau style inkwell. And it came from my great-grandfather's family. And this was my grandpa's ink pen, gold-plated tip with an ivory handle. And Grandpa used to dip into that and write with this. It's an elegant, beautiful way. There you go, right on. Right on, right? If you can put this on your desk and you can write this way and think what it does to the people around you, to just pause and think, slow down a little bit. Here's my dad's drafting kit, the little portable one he used to carry in his vest pocket. And my dad was the principal product designer for Oshkosh Truck Corporation, which is the largest small truck manufacturer in the world, the most expensive trucks in the world. He designed the Patriot missile launcher, all of the standard crash fire rescue vehicles you see on the airports all over the world. So, you know, I have things like this around to remember Dad. But he used to use these things at the card table in the living room when we would be watching the Ed Sullivan show. He would be designing the Patriot missile launcher with pencil and ink. This is the calculator from Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is a mechanical adding machine that you take a stylus, you go.
Oh my.
Beautiful old adding machine. This is my dad's slide rule. Oh, you on it? You on it, man. So my dad designed some of his most famous trucks with this slide rule.
Oh, wow.
This, I annoyed the heck out of my grandpa, Grandpa Green, who was a machinist, illiterate. And in the top drawer of his desk, he had this attometer. And these squiggles on the felt here, I did that when I was like 5 years old. Okay? So one day I said, Grandpa, I would, for hours, I would do this. I would just turn the numbers.
Yeah.
I would add things up, and then you'd clear it by pulling this lever. Great feeling.
So what is that? It's a calculator?
It's a calculator called the attometer. I said, Grandpa, can I have this? Okay, Ricky, I guess it's yours. I'm a photographer. Oh, here's another one. Got it from the antique shop in Oshkosh. This is the Arithma Addiator. Did you have one of these?
One of those.
Got the little clearing function.
Yeah.
Stylus. I think I bought this for $12. It's got an instruction manual too. The Addiator. Slow technology. Okay. I love photography. I started shooting when I was 3 years old. And I still have the camera. I didn't bring that one, but I still have the camera that I shot with when I was 3 years old. My dad would buy me film. I would run out of film and I would keep taking pretend pictures. So I had a wet darkroom, color in black and white. I was very sophisticated in that field at a very young age. And I collect cameras, so the obsessive compulsive thing is in me. I have a big camera collection.
I may have something that you might want.
Okay,
My
I
father's-
already do.
My father's old brownie.
Oh, right on. Well, I just showed Alex. I've got,
Okay.
this is a prize I found at an antique store in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Polaroid.
No, it's not Polaroid.
Oh, look at that baby.
It's a box camera.
This is Zeiss Icon Oryx 308-1,
Wow.
1920s. I have to be very careful here, I don't want to break it. It took me a while to figure out precisely how to use it. It has perfectly clear optics. This was a framing device, you could, like a speed frame, so you do this for sports. Okay, and this thing has a ground glass, so you focus by looking into the ground glass, and then once you've focused and composed, you take the ground glass off. Do not want to break this. Well, I'm not going to do it, but this thing comes off, and then this thing slides on, and this is the sheet film. So the film is this big. And you slide this thing into the camera, and then you pull this blank out, the film would be ready to be exposed. The effort you would have, you can imagine the effort to squeeze off a photograph with a camera like this. Made in Germany, of course.
Yeah.
was huge. Every photograph counted because there were only 3 of these in the kit. Unless you bought some more, you had 3 shots for the day. And the photos from this era, the 1920s, 1930s, the black and white era, the classic era, are still can't be touched. Nobody can seem to do what they were doing, right? Ansel Adams,
Stieglitz.
Weston.
Yeah.
Edward Weston, and
Weston.
just go on and on and on. This is a Leica 3C, 1949. Gift from my high school English teacher, whose husband smuggled it out of Latvia. And I had it restored by Fred, the Leica guy down in Mountain View. Took him 5 weeks to do it. When I finally came back, he handed it to me, and he goes, "There you go, factory spec." He had completely torn it apart and remachined brass parts that were a little bit off, cleaned all the springs, took the lens apart, took all the elements of the lens out and cleaned every element of the lens, put it all back together, collimated it, calibrated it, and 1,000th of a second is 1,000th of a second. 1949. This is a real pride and joy for me. Slow brand, Leica, Lights
Yes,
Camera
yes.
Company.
Yes, yes.
I have
Now-
a Canon. It's a Japanese knockoff of the M3.
Right. And that's a collectible, by the way.
In case you.
I'll buy it from you.
You better hold on to it.
This is my current camera. It's arguably the finest camera in the world. This
What
is
is
the
it?
Leica M9.
Yeah.
It is an 18 megapixel full frame digital camera. And I can prove that it's digital because there's a picture I took the other day of a pumpkin in Zionsville. So it really is a digital camera. And it takes exquisite pictures because of the optics. But the lens on this camera, via a little adapter, will fit right on this camera.
Wow.
And I just go ahead and shoot with 60-year-old lenses, and I can get that 60-year-old glow, that Leica glow, you know? I love it. I love this camera for so many reasons. It's small, it fits in the hand, it's unobtrusive, it's quiet. This is another camera that I use for sporting events, weddings, and other kinds of events. This is a Nikon, and I only brought this. I think it's a disgusting camera, but it's a fine camera. It's a D700 full frame. This is a professional level camera. This is fast technology. This is not slow technology. So here's what it's like using fast technology in today's photographic world. Maybe I got a good shot, maybe I
You'll
didn't.
never know.
It's like
You
a
never know.
machine.
The camera's taking the pictures. I'm not. This is slow technology. And here's how I take a picture today at f1.4, ISO 400. It's a rangefinder. I can't see what the lens sees.
Right.
I'm looking through separate lenses, and I use a different kind of a focusing approach here.
Get the lens cap on.
Leather.
See what I have to do? I have to squeeze out a photograph. So I focused on your eye, but now I'm going to compose, and so on. Slow photography. And
Yeah,
it's
so
the
great.
photos that come out of this experience.
You didn't picture me in a photograph of you.
Well, you'll see.
Yeah.
Is it okay to ask something now or shall we wait?
You can, are you okay with the question?
Sure.
I guess what I was going to say is like, it seems to me like part of, it's not just that the experience is fundamentally different for the photographer, but that when you look at the way that people prepare themselves in relation to what it is you're doing, there's a kind of reciprocal relationship that's happening, you know, I mean, when you just snap at me like that, you know, it's a fleeting second, but it's kind of an event almost when you have to focus, when you have to take your time, when others have to pose for you. So it's a very different social relationship.
How does it feel when they do this? This is pretty hostile, isn't it? I'm shooting a
I
big...
don't like cameras in general.
Got it,
I really don't
right? This is big, right? But this is what, I mean, this is intimidating.
Yeah.
What's the weight difference between these two?
A lot. This is much heavier. Whereas this feels like, oh, how cute, he's shooting with an antique. You know? And it's a very discreet, but the quality of the image is no comparison. The fact that,
You said it was arguably the best camera in the world,
yes,
and you're saying the image quality is not there.
the image quality is unsurpassed.
Oh, so I think you said the image quality of that one is better. You're not saying that.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, this looks like flat, dull, detailed.
Yeah.
This looks detailed, rich, deep, three-dimensional, all the way up to the corners. Contrast. Leica is the finest lens manufacturer there is. Okay.
Is that Etch-a-Sketch yours?
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, yes! Yay!
May he rest in peace. He died 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you read that?
Oh, yeah.
This is the one I had when I was a kid. And I've had it all these years and still works fine. But we were talking, Forrest, I think, about your kids with 27 months and mastering the iPad, right? So this was the iPad of the day. But to squeeze out an image took skill and took time. It's a slow technology. This is slow technology, slow food. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Nice little juicer.
Uh-huh.
I'm just building my case here, you know? Fill your life up with things like this.
You did bring the crock pot.
It looks like it belongs on the dashboard of a Jeep or something.
Friend of mine, I sent a link to a friend of mine about a photographer who I discovered who does beautiful images like this in black and white. And he found this newsprint in New York on the street corner. Somebody is publishing black and white photography on paper like this out on the
Wow.
streets. And there's really something extraordinary about it. It is not. It's a very different experience.
Yes.
So I don't show my photographs on a website. I don't show them on an iPad. I print them on paper. So I'd be delighted if some of you wanted to look at some of these and
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
comment and
Absolutely.
criticism.
Definitely.
This is a collection from a trip I took, a slow trip, from the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas in my car up through Death Valley, spending time alone in Death Valley, and then over the mountains to two little desert communities, one called Darwin, the other one called Keeler. These are lost communities, about 70 people in each community. And I was just enthralled by what I encountered
You want me to do Vanna?
there.
I can do Vanna.
I met these people. Well, we'll just have these available for. But I met these people. That's Jerry and Teresa.
That would be Laura.
They were
She's a reporter with Forbes.
these were the only people, human beings that I saw in the entire city of Keeler for 3.5 hours that I was there taking pictures. I knew they were there, and I said, he look at him, you know, tattoos and tank top and long white hair, and he says, "Why are you taking pictures of my house?" And I thought, I'm dead. I ran for the car. And he goes, no, come back. He says, "Why are you taking pictures of my house?" I said, "Because I love how your house looks. It's beautiful." And he goes, "Oh, you want to see some more?" So he invited me in, gave me a tour, introduced me to his wife. This is his garage. You'll see.
It's awesome.
But you'll see what the Leica can do. But
Is that their Saline Valley?
it's in Owens Valley. It's right on Owens Lake. And you know Owens Lake is desiccated, it's a salt flat now, you know why? Because all that water was diverted to Los Angeles. That was the story of Chinatown.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm almost done. Alex, you can talk soon. I'll wrap up
I'm
with
well diverted, I'm fine for
some books. This just came in today. Ordered it from Amazon. I haven't used it yet. This is the Moleskine large .c. This is the Moleskine Evernote book. And I'm always interested in terms of slow technology. I'm looking for ways to bridge the analog world to the digital world in a very gracious way.
Yes.
So you take your notes, you draw your pictures, you fire up the Evernote app on your phone, you take a picture of the page, it digitizes it, squares it up, smooths out the wrinkles, and gives you better contrast, and then puts it right up into your Evernote notebook in the cloud. And it does optical character recognition, so the words are taggable and searchable. So that is a brilliant way to bridge the analog and the digital worlds. This is what I've been using for 15 years. That's my iPad. So I use a pencil. This is a mechanical pencil. I love this pencil. It was discontinued, but I found a bunch of them at a store in Melbourne, so I bought them all. And the feeling of this lead on this paper is so beautiful. I doodle with it, and I have this whole method of check marks and stuff, but this is my life on a piece of paper with a pencil. So this bridge that Evernote has created is kind of interesting to me. In case some of you have forgotten, this is a book. It's called a novel. It's made of paper.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Very
Mr.
nice.
Kepler. When I read this book, I wept for about 2 days. East of Eden. And I woke up on a Saturday morning weeping. Still, it just choked me. I said, I could go there. So I got in my car and I did a slow day. And I went all the way down to King City. And I went to and found that ranch that Steinbeck was writing about. I ended up in Hollister, no, San Juan Bautista, and there was this Harley tattooed guy, bartender, serving me beer. And he said, why are you here? I said, well, I'm in search of Steinbeck. Thinking like it would just go right over his head. He goes, oh really, I've read all the books, what would you like to know? Great conversation. Little books you might be familiar with, if you aren't, hunt them down. Elaine St. James, Simplify Your Life.
Yes.
Remember this series? And Inner Simplicity. Wonderful books. These are aphorisms that basically help you do what Alex is writing about in a very charming way. And then these series of books by Richard Carlson, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And it's all small stuff. Remember these? Great, great books. So if you want to get that sense of slow, connect with your humanity, pause, reflect, get a sense of the presence of time in your life, just, get into this stuff. And then I'm going to leave you with this. Oh, I forgot. Here. This is not slow technology, but who knows what this is? My mom found this for me in an empty.
coal miners lamp.
It's a lamp, right? It's a kerosene lamp. See, there's the wick in there, and there's the chimney, but it says Kodak. This was the first darkroom safe light.
Oh,
And what you would do is you would put your filters in here for the type of work that you were doing in the darkroom before there was electricity. I discovered a webzine called Interactions Magazine, which is pretty much PhD level. It's like Alex Pong level research on usability, user experience, these types of things. And I saw a picture of somebody holding an Acheulean period bifacial hand axe at about 900,000 years old. And it was cut to fit perfectly a human left hand. And I thought that speaks volumes for the essence of what design is. Design is for the human, it's for the intended user, it's to fit the frame of the person, but it was cut to fit a left hand 900,000 years ago. It says, yes, I have the oldest one on record.
Wow.
It's 1.4 million years old.
Serious?
This is an Acheulean period bifacial hand axe, meaning it's sharp on both edges. It has this notch on the top for my thumb, so I've got propulsive leverage coming down, but I can also use it as a scraper. It's a multi-purpose tool. It's made out of chert. The grad students in archaeology, correct me if I'm wrong, to this day can't do this. They cannot make these with this precision, with this beauty. And there it is. So this was Homo erectus. See, I'm shaking. I get goosebumps. This is Homo erectus. This form persisted for over 1 million years. And this was before fire. This was before language. How did this form persist? How long did it take for that craft to be mastered by that Homo erectus to make this one stone? And just think about that. Or the Long Now Foundation, think about this, how powerful it is. Here I am time traveling with the life's work of some little hairy critter like this. This was the highest expression of technology known to man 1.4 million years ago, and this is what it looks like today. You see a resemblance?
Careful which one you smash down.
It'll be this one.
Hold it.
That's great.
That's wonderful.
And we don't want,
No.
okay? But afterward, if you want to come and look at it, you can make arrangements.
But have you ever cut anything with it?
No, I wouldn't do that. No, I'm almost afraid to touch geology. And so that's why I do it. You know, is to remind us who we are, where we came from. Slow down. We're built to do this. We are not built to do this. And I will now hand it off. Dr. Pond.